if you remember back, it started in 1979, and polio was rampant throughout the world. And Rotary International worked with the Philippines, and they used shots of polio, and it worked really well. Well, over the years, by 1988, Rotary decided to get involved because at that time there were 1,000 children a day paralyzed from polio. It's a terrible disease. Many of them died. Many of them were crippled forever. And so we started with the vaccine. And since then, we have been very successful working with people and countries all over the world. And now there are only 2 countries that still have polio. And that's Afghanistan, and this year they have 2 cases, and Pakistan. Pakistan has had a very difficult time this year, so they have over 22 cases, which is really high because last year they had 1. But they have had floods, they have had terrible disease picked up over there, and we have Rotarians and others walking in waist-high water through Karachi to vaccinate these children.
Wow.
And we have to vaccinate children 5 and under. But in the meantime, I think many of us know about what happened in New York. And we've said over the years that polio is only a plane ride away. And a person came over from another country. He visited New York. He was there for a while. He had been vaccinated with the live polio vaccine, and there was a youngster there, a young man who had not been vaccinated, and he ended up not only with polio, but he's now crippled. And that is a prime example of how we encourage everyone to get vaccinated. So many countries have not only helped us with our Rotary International, because as you know, we're 1.2 million Rotarians all over the world, but they've helped with financing the polio vaccine. And now we have a new weapon against polio, which I am happy to share. I'm going to have to read this to be sure that it's perfect, but it's a modified polio vaccine, and it's offering new hope in this fight to eradicate polio. And it's the re-engineered formula that has a lower risk of causing vaccine-delivered the polio virus. So this means that it's really less likely that the weakened strain of the polio virus used in vaccines will mutate. So that's really very, very, very exciting, and we're thrilled and delighted about that too. But it's a devastating disease, and we have millions of volunteers working throughout Afghanistan, Pakistan, and indeed throughout the world, because I don't know if people realize this, but until polio is absolutely eradicated, people still have to be vaccinated. So we encourage every child under the age of 5 to be vaccinated.
Boy, Sandy, I mean, you can't let your guard down. That's the message here.
No, you cannot. And as we've said before, it's only a plane ride away. So it's exemplified just recently in New York and New Jersey. And it's a waterborne disease. And that's how it manages to go everywhere. And so it's in the water system up in New York and New Jersey.
Boy, and you have a passion for this and really an urgency about it. And I think a lot of us don't have... I remember my grandparents talking about it. I remember getting the vaccine shot in school. This is a serious thing, and you don't want to see it start spreading, and all of a sudden people learning about it.
Well, that's exactly right. And I was reading in the newspaper, Washington D.C. is requiring their children to be vaccinated, and they wouldn't let them in school to start the school year. However, parents can opt out for the children that they feel, for whatever reason, shouldn't get the vaccine. But it's really encouraged, because we could see what happened in New York, because the young man that did get the polio had not been vaccinated. So that's what we encourage, is vaccination for all children 5 and under.
And thanks for Rotary for taking this on and making it such a priority, because that's really what it takes. Like you said, all it takes is just some carelessness, and all of a sudden we've got a case here, and we've got a case here, and we've got a case here.
Well, and the countries that we work with, of course, all over the world, are so dedicated. And just a couple of years ago, the continent of Africa was finally declared polio-free. And Nigeria was the last country that we had to have polio-free. And they have to be polio-free for 3 years. 2 years, and then the third year they can receive the polio clearance. And so Afghanistan and Pakistan, as I said, are still the last two. And another exciting thing is that they are, the Rotarians and the leaders in these two countries are working together to get rid of the final cases. And we really are praying and working hard to have polio gone totally in a couple of years.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be so wonderful.
And say there are no more cases. None.
No, but thanks to millions of volunteers all over the world and countries who have worked with Rotary and their own countries to donate funds. This is not inexpensive. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they match dollar for dollar, then $2 for our $1. But every nickel counts. Every nickel can help to save a life. So it is really important, and it's taken an effort from so many people, because we care about others. And that's what we do, is we work to help others. This is a big, big deal.
It is a big deal. Thank you for promoting this for us, because this isn't something you want to just go by. And the day is important, and wearing the pin is important, and just keeping it in the forefront.
Right. Just reminding people. And the Stafford Rotary Club was so pleased again for, I think, the 4th or 5th year that the Stafford Board of Supervisors has recognized World Polio Day, October the 24th, in Stafford County.
Okay, so I would like to present you this proclamation. Whereas Rotary International, founded in 1905, and whose motto is Service Above Self, launched the Polio Plus efforts in 1985 and spearheaded the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, to immunize the children of the world against polio. And whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, billions of children have received the gift of polio-free life. And currently only 2 countries remain where the polio virus is still endemic in 2022. Afghanistan with 2 cases and Pakistan with 22 cases. And whereas polio is still only a plane ride away, as exemplified by the recent case of paralytic polio found in an unvaccinated adult in Rockland County, New York, apparently brought to the United States by a visitor from another country who had been immunized against polio with a live vaccine. And whereas there is no cure for polio, it can be prevented by the inactivated polio vaccine, now used worldwide and as part of the U.S. routine childhood program, with 93% of toddlers receiving at least 3 doses, according to the CDC. And whereas, despite the tremendous progress made toward eradicating polio, recent events have shown that as long as the polio virus exists anywhere, it remains a threat to children and adults everywhere, demonstrating that we must not let our guard down until we have indeed eliminated the vast vestige of this terrible disease. And whereas Rotary members have contributed more than $2.6 billion, countless volunteer hours to protecting over 3 billion children in over 122 countries, with more than 20 million people walking today who otherwise would have been paralyzed. And whereas Rotary is working to raise an additional $50 million per year, which will be leveraged for maximum impact by an additional $100 million annually from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And whereas, in addition, Rotary has played a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $10 billion to their efforts. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Stafford County Board of Supervisors on this 18th day of October 2022 that it be and hereby does proclaim October 24th, 2022 as World Polio Day in Stafford County. Be it further proclaimed that Stafford County, Virginia commits to the continued fight for a polio-free world and encourages all citizens to join the fight.
And some other jurisdictions are now beginning to do this, but we were so honored last year when, for the first time in the history of the Commonwealth, our governor recognized World Polio Day throughout the Commonwealth for October the 24th. And that was quite an honor. And it couldn't have happened at a better time with polio traveling across.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate everything everybody is doing. And there's still a little bit of a mountain to climb. So everybody, get out there and help us out.
Get vaccinated and spread the word.
Spread the word. That's exactly right.